Welcome to the further readings of METAHUMAN by Deepak Chopra, MD. The anti-robot argument. Now, before I begin this section of METAHUMAN by Deepak Chopra, MD, I'm going to share a line from Thoth, the Atlantean, or Metatron, but the former human known as Enoch, in his non-ascended incarnation. And this is from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean Metatron. And I want to make the point that reading this METAHUMAN by Deepak Chopra is essentially a profound explanation of the Emerald Tablets, in a sense. And I'm going to make the correlation between this line from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, and the document, the METAHUMAN document that I'm sharing with you, my esteemed viewer. And before I do that, I just want to mention that this particular episode of the Umbanda New Earth Education broadcast is brought to you by the Vapor Studio, the Taj Mahal and Mecca of vaping, where their vape technicians provide a valuable service of vape ecstasy for your vaping face. And the line that I'm going to share from the Emerald Tablets is, "Consider the law, for all is law. Seek not that which is not of the law, for such exist only in the illusion of the senses." Now, picking up with the anti-robot argument from METAHUMAN by Deepak Chopra. Here we go. Shifting away from the false assumption that the world is solid and physical runs counter to a trend I find increasingly disturbing. Science persistently tries to prove that human beings are machines. And where this was once just a metaphor for how the body works in all its complex parts, man as machine is being taken more and more literally. We are told that the complexity of human emotions can be reduced to rising and falling levels of brain hormones. Keep in mind, the MD, medical doctor title for Deepak Chopra is because he's an endocrinologist. So he specializes in these hormones and whatnot, chemistry, brain and human chemistry. So we are told that the complexity of human emotions can be reduced to rising and falling levels of brain hormones. Brain areas that light up on an fMRI scan supposedly indicate the causation or mechanism behind a person feeling depressed or being prone to criminal behavior and much else. Besides being brain puppets, we are supposed to believe that our genes program us in powerful ways to the point that bad genes doom a person to a host of problems, from schizophrenia to Alzheimer's. Those examples of predisposition are then extended to behaviors and traits like being prone to anxiety and depression. METAHUMAN has many implications, but one of the strongest is to rebuff the notion that human beings are primarily mechanisms. Even though science has a wealth of findings about both genes and the brain, that doesn't make that notion any more valid. The general public isn't aware, for example, that only 5% of disease-related genetic mutations will definitely cause a particular illness. The other 95% of genes raise or lower a person's risk factors and, in complex ways, interact with other genes. The public is still stuck on a misconception that a single gene, like the so-called gay gene or the selfishness gene, exists and creates an irresistible predisposition. This misconception was obliterated when the human genome was mapped. The current picture of DNA is almost the opposite of the public's misguided image. DNA isn't fixed. It is fluid and dynamic, constantly interacting with the outside world and with your inner thoughts and feelings. The notion that your genes run your life is ingrained even among educated people. So, it is eye-opening to review a recent experiment published in the December 10th, 2018 issue of Nature, Human Behavior. Researchers in the psychology department of Stanford University took two groups of participants and tested them for two genes, one associated with higher risk of becoming obese, the other with higher risk of performing badly in physical exercise. First, I'll focus on the obesity gene. The participants ate a meal and afterward were asked how full they felt. In addition, their blood was tested for levels of leptin, the hormone associated with feeling full after a meal. The results were about the same for people genetically prone to obesity and those who weren't. The next week, the same group returned and ate the same meal, but with a difference. Half the group was told completely randomly that they had the gene that protects someone from risk for obesity, while the other group was told they had the higher risk version of the gene. To the surprise of researchers, there was an immediate and dramatic effect. Simply by being told that they had the protective gene, subjects showed a blood level of leptin 2.5 times higher than before. The group who were told they didn't have the protective gene didn't change from their earlier results. What this indicates is that simply being told about a genetic benefit caused people to exhibit the physiology associated with that gene. What the participants believed to be true overrode their actual genetic predisposition, because in some cases, the people who thought they were genetically protected actually weren't. The same dramatic results occurred in the exercise experiment. People who were told that they had a gene that produced poor results from exercise displayed the cardiovascular and respiratory signs that such a gene is supposed to produce. Even though they didn't have the at-risk gene, merely by being told they did reduce their lung capacity and made them too exhausted to continue running on a treadmill. In short, the body conforms to mind-made reality. If your physiology produces genetic effects simply by hearing that you have a certain gene, the myth of genes controlling our lives is seriously challenged. It's not that genetic programming is irrelevant. For the full picture, refer to the book Super Genes, which I co-wrote with Harvard geneticist Rudy Tanzi. So it's not that genetic programming is irrelevant, but the reality is as complex as human life itself. Genes are among the host of causes and influences that affect us. How strongly they affect any given person is impossible to predict, and in every area of behavior and health, there is a wide latitude for personal choice. Given an either-or choice, see yourself as a free agent capable of conscious change, rather than a robotic machine run by genes and brain cells. Life is rarely as simple as either-or, which is true here as well. But despite the public image fostered by popular science articles, it's not true that a human being is a biological puppet. Far closer to the truth is the view that we are conscious agents whose potential for creativity and change is unlimited. We become metahuman by making the life-altering choice to be metahumans. We become metahuman by making the life-altering choice to go on and hit that subscribe button and support the Vapor Studio, the Taj Mahal of vaping. Vape ecstasy for your vape face.